Hey, what's up, builders? It's your girl, Kantoinette the blogger, and you are now listening to the LBF podcast. This is a creating space, and we have Autumn here, the soul of AC. She is a chef, and she does some awesome stuff, y'all. Y'all gotta follow her page because actually, y'all don't know, like, because every time I scroll and she posts, I'm always just like, dang, I'm hungry now. So I'll let her come in and she'll introduce and kind of talk about, let her get to know you guys and you get to know her. And then we'll get into these questions. So Autumn, go ahead and say something for the builders.
Hi, builders. I'm Autumn. I'm from South Carolina. Well, I'm from Florence, South Carolina. If anybody knows where that is, I'm near Myrtle Beach. But I now live in Greenville, so I'm just a traveling personal chef. I just graduated from Clemson University last year, so I'm just starting out. So I'm just going to see where all of this takes me.
So that was actually one of the questions I wanted to know was like, did you were you a chef in a restaurant or were you just said you're a traveling personal chef and we're in the same town. I didn't know that either.
Really?
We
Okay.
are. I almost booked you for my birthday party, but because I waited to the last minute, I was just like, I don't think I could pull this off. But so that's great. So you said you graduated from Clemson.
Yes.
Is it this for culinary? Like, is it for business?
So my degree was actually in biological sciences. So I graduated a bachelor's of arts in biological sciences, and I minored in psychology.
Okay,
And
smart
then
girl.
I get that every time. I usually so I basically started out when I was 8 years old, I believe. My mother used to send me to my grandmother's house every summer, and I used to hate it. I used to absolutely hate going outside. I was not an outside person, so I used to just stay in the inside with her, and
Right.
I just learned to cook from there. That's literally where I learned.
So you actually like snapping peas?
Yes, I
Oh
do.
no.
Rather than going outside and picking them in the garden, yes.
That is amazing. So with that being said, like when did it become like a real passion that you wanted to pursue? Um,
That's actually a good question. I will say probably last year. So my grandmother passed away last year,
I'm
and
sorry.
she passed away in June. And I actually started when my great grandmother passed away. So her birthday was March 22nd. That was the day I just decided that I was going to start taking this very seriously. So
Right.
when my grandmother passed away, I just went ahead and started taking it off, and people just started asking me to cook for them. And then I started doing like pop-up shops, and it just went from there. And everybody just started asking me to cook. So I was just like, I might as well just go ahead and make it a business.
All right. Yeah. If you're the go-to person already, you may as well get paid for it,
Yes.
right? So, have you had any traditional training?
No, not at all.
Wow. So, how do you go about being self-taught? Like, what is it like? Is it like videos online you watch, or like how did that come about?
So I'm genuinely more creative than anything. So I'm very artistic. So that has nothing to do with my degree, I know. But
Listen, that's the best of both worlds. If you could be, one of those mechanical thinking people and also a creative person, you just marry those together.
I was very much so like in an environment with my parents, they always made me cook.
Mm.
So I was the go-to person. I'm the oldest out of all of my
Oh, okay,
siblings.
that makes sense.
So they always, and then when I used to go in the kitchen, I used to act like I was Rachel Ray. So I always used to just talk to myself and act like I was on a Food Network show. And it just went from there. And so as I got older, I just started watching music videos and YouTube videos and just seeing how they merge all of those together. And then I just
Right.
wanted to go into that. So that's how I actually got into TikTok. So I've been starting learning my transitions and stuff and trying to get better at stuff like that. So it's been
Okay.
a journey, honestly, but it's fun.
Go ahead and plug that TikTok because I wasn't even accounting for that. But now that I think about it, I think most of the videos you share on Instagram are from TikTok, right?
Yes.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. What's your handle?
It is Autumn Sierra. So it's just Autumn, my name, AUTUMNCIERA.
All right. So, what is your favorite dish to cook?
I actually don't have a favorite dish, but from everybody else's perspective, their favorite dish of mine is either my macaroni and cheese or my shrimp and grits. And basically, with my macaroni and cheese, it has 7 cheeses in it. And I bake it every time. None of my family likes stovetop mac and cheese, so I have to bake it. That's the tradition.
Right.
And then my shrimp and grits has a Hennessy cream sauce on it, so that's just one addicting thing that they just love. Every time I go home, I have to make that.
Listen, okay, see, now I'm feeling like a little bit of that, like biology is kind of knowing how to mix stuff and the
Yes.
proportions. That probably plays a part into you getting your ingredients and recipes just right. But I love macaroni and cheese. I can lay in a good pan of macaroni and cheese and be content with life. It is probably one of my favorite dishes, so I'm definitely gonna have to try. Um, I'm gonna
Yes.
have to book you for an event, even
You
if
really should. I
I'm just the only
promise.
person there. I want to do that for sure.
Fun
Do you?
fact, I am
Yeah,
actually the designated macaroni and cheese maker for my entire family. Even before my grandmother passed, she gave that off to me. So,
that's how you know that you've gotten good. Cause like my
yes.
mom, she was a caterer, and the cooking gene kind of missed me, but it hit my other two sisters. But now my middle sister, her macaroni is better than my mom's, and so I'm just like, okay, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you got to make the
Yes.
macaroni and cheese. But yeah, that's amazing for you to have gotten those skills and everything from the women in your life, and now you're the go-to person. That's
Yes.
amazing.
It feels very good. I have the trophy. That's what it feels like.
They got to tell them to get you a real trophy.
Yes, I need to put it in my little in my kitchen, honestly.
Right. So you mentioned that, when you were younger, you used to, impersonate a lot of the cooking shows. Is that something that you want to do one day?
I'm actually not sure because I feel like when I'm in front of a camera, I would be not as personable.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have to get very comfortable in order for me to do that. But that's something I would really try. I
Right.
wouldn't doubt it though.
Right. Listen, if you're already doing TikTok, next up, like YouTube, maybe,
Yes.
and just build it up from there, I can definitely see, once you feel like more comfortable, your recipes and your transitions already on your videos are already amazing. So
Thank you.
you're already on the trajectory of it. So how would you describe like your creative energy when it comes to like making your recipes and your food?
Um, I don't even know because honestly, learning from my grandmother, she just went with the flow. She used to have her little recipe book and
Mm-hmm.
just go from there. She was one that was just like, follow this, follow that, follow this. I was the complete opposite. So we used to actually butt heads in the kitchen because I would just be like, okay, I'll just throw this in there, throw that in there.
Right.
And so I honestly don't have recipes. I just go with the flow. And then I just basically they're all just in my head. So if somebody asks me exactly what I do, it would be different every time. I just make sure it tastes the same every single time.
That's spoken like a true creative though, because I mean, what better way? Like, I know that a lot of people even say with their, grandparents or even my mother, don't use, unless she's baking, she doesn't use measuring cups or anything like that.
No.
It's all in her head. And I'm just like, girl, how you? But now that I've gotten older and certain dishes that I cook that she's taught me how to make, I don't have to use a measuring cup either. But that is like a real creative thing for you to have so many different recipes, so many different things and dishes that you make. And you just kind of just like, all right, I'm gonna just go with the flow. I'm gonna just
Yeah.
let it lead
She
me.
was the complete opposite. It was to a certain extent, she would just be like, here, you have to follow this, follow this, follow this. And then
Right.
for the things that she actually knew, she'll just be like, go with the flow, here you go. And then basically until your ancestors tell you to stop seasoning. So that's where you go from.
Listen, you gotta listen to the ancestors. How did you come up with the name for your business, The Soul of AC?
um, So basically, when my grandmother passed, my great grandmother, when she passed away, she was big in the kitchen too. So it was just a generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she always talked about just being soulful. And then I also started just looking into soul food. Basically, I always cooked soul food. So I just merged the two together because she was
Mm-hmm.
a very, her aura was very, I don't know what you call it, like engaging. Like everybody loved her. Everybody would come to our house because she's cooking, and
Right.
she just put her soul literally into everything she did. And so that basically just was just passed down on to me. And then I was like, well, you know, I cook soul food, so it's just a good thing to merge both of them. So
Right.
started with that, and then the soul of AC came from it's a double meaning. So my name is Autumn Sierra, and then I just merged American cuisines with it. So it's the soul of American cuisines by Autumn Sierra.
Wow. See, I didn't know the other meaning. I just always thought it was your initials.
Oh no.
But that makes a lot of sense. I love how that, like in your business and in the way that you choose your dishes and everything, it's kind of like you're always paying homage to
Yes.
your ancestors and to your lineage. Like, and so that, I mean, you're embodying what the soul of, your creation is, which is your family. And I love
Yes.
that because I
Thank
feel
you.
like you can taste that in the food.
You really can. Everybody says it, so it's just not me. It's their opinions
Right.
as well.
Right. Okay. Do you ever think that you would want to go to culinary school?
Um, I have been debating. I've wanting to take like food photography classes. I've been wanting to branch off into other cultures. I'm not sure if I actually want to go to culinary school because I'm actually in grad school at the same time. So I'm in
Oh, right.
pharmaceuticals. So I've been in dabbing in a little bit of each industry. So
Right.
right now it's just let's just see where it takes me. But with culinary school, I have been considering it. I just don't know when it will actually happen because right now I don't think it's necessary.
It is. Listen, I just asked just because I was curious, but when I asked the question, I was like, I don't know. I think I have to ask whether she's been to traditional school or not. I was like, but even if she hasn't, the food speaks for itself. It's kind of like it's one of those things when you're just talented with it and you already are gifted with, knowing how to do certain things. Is school really necessary? So,
I watch Netflix shows. I can't remember the name of it, but it's one. I think it talks about using certain heats, using certain salts. I wish I could remember the name, but I will sit down and watch shows that teach me about science behind food. So I learned anyway, so I don't think it's necessary, but I'll watch those shows. I'll look at YouTube. I even watch videos on plating, trying to better everything, trying to
right.
just perfect my craft.
That other technical part of your mind is coming into play when it comes to
Yes.
your passion. I see that, and that's wonderful. What's your favorite cooking show?
Actually, I love I think it's called Diners, Drives In and Dives. That's
Oh
my
yeah,
favorite
with
show.
what's his name, Guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my favorite show. I will sit all night and watch that. Just to watch them to go different restaurants. I will actually write them down, and wherever I go, that's what I'll try to
You'll try
taste.
it.
Yes.
That's amazing. I like Ina Garden or Ina.
Yes.
Um oh, what's that other one? I'll come back to it. But so like I said, I'm not the best cook. But I love cooking shows. I've been watching cooking shows probably since I was a kid, and everybody thought it was weird because I'm just like I'd rather sometimes watch a cooking show for a couple of hours than a cartoon, just because it's
Yes.
just so
Me too.
interesting to see people how they create different flavors, and you would never think to cook certain stuff. Like who thought to cook some of that?
I think the other show is Chopped. So I
Oh
used to
yeah.
love Chopped because they just used to give them like random things and they
Mhm.
just come up with the best things. I'm like, how did you even come up with that? So
Right.
I also started using those techniques into my food as well. So
That's amazing. Chop gives me a little bit of anxiety. I had to stop watching it so much. Okay, so what do you think about the food industry when it comes to chefs and it's specifically women and it being an industry that is still male dominated?
so right now I think it's a little difficult for just me in general, because I am starting out. So a lot of people that are ahead of me, they went to culinary school or they're a little bit older than me, and they've also moved to bigger cities. So it's easier for them to get exposed. But as far as I think, I actually don't know any Black women that's in the food industry right now. I
Right.
follow a couple on Instagram, but they are out of Atlanta.
Hmm.
So but they have been doing really, really well. So I've just been trying to reach out to them to see if they have any advice for me, but I haven't
Right.
been able to get anything yet. So we're still waiting on that.
I hate that. I hate that sometimes it's that gatekeeping. But you're exactly right. When I saw so I got referred to you from a friend. I guess she had been following you for a while too, and she was like, "Oh yeah, if you're thinking about getting someone for your birthday, this is a really good person." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then when I saw you were a black woman, I was like, "A black woman chef? Like, wait a minute, I'm all about this." And so I definitely have been, putting you on my radar and saying like, "This is too cool to pass up." Somebody needs to be talking about it because I don't think we see a lot of the possibilities when it comes to what we can be as black women or black, when we're little girls. And it's amazing what you're doing because it might be hard because you don't have anybody in this area, but for you
Yes.
to be one of the first, for people to be able to see, I'm pretty sure that's very impactful, especially if you have, smaller kids in your own life and your family and everything like that. So
I'm very family oriented, so everybody that's in my family, well, on my dad's side, we are very, very, very close knit. And so everybody, I literally have my niece. She will always be in the kitchen with me. She's my
aw,
taste tester.
she's
So
your shoe
she'll
shop.
yes, she'll tell me, no, this is too salty, or it's too bitter. She'll like add this, add that. I'm like, well, I'm always have you in the kitchen with me.
Right.
But it's definitely, I would say for me, honestly, this is like a very hidden memory that I forgot about. But when I was younger, we had this plaza that was built when I believe I was 10, and it was just a drive-through that was empty. And I used to tell my dad, I'm gonna make this my restaurant. I had an entire menu planned out. I looked up equipment to go in there, and it's just a hidden memory. Like I just remember that as soon as you told me, as soon as you said something about Black women and chefs, and I just never realized how my subconscious is actually coming to light. So
Right.
honestly, it might happen. I might have a restaurant
It
coming soon.
might happen. That was one of my questions that I was going to ask if that was something you wanted, but it's just so interesting that I think that happens with us sometimes. It's like as kids, we'll know exactly what we want. But as we are, in life and the pressures of society, we'll kind of
Yes.
forget that part of ourselves. And then when we get older, if we have been lucky enough to start following that passion again, small stuff will start showing back up like, girl, you always said you wanted to do
Yes.
this.
I get that question all the time. They're like, when did you want to become a chef? I'm like, I don't know. And now I'm just like, I really did plan that out when I was younger. I used to take my mom's laptop and plan everything out.
Right. I said the same thing with this whole podcasting and writing and stuff. Like I was like, I would have never thought I would have done this. And I had that same kind of moment when I remember like being in my room and I used to just be talking to myself like I was crazy. But I wasn't. I was just preparing for this kind of stuff. So it's like, your younger self when you're kids, and then sometimes it gets buried underneath everything else.
Yes.
And hopefully you get to a place where you can start to uncover it again.
Yes, I'm banking on that. I'm really hoping, because that's one of the things I've been trying to figure out is my purpose and my path that I'm going down, because I'm in so many different industries. So I'm working in pharmaceuticals. I just graduated. I was going to be a neonatologist, and I
Okay,
had
wait a minute. Go back. And you got to let us see. Me and the builders, we smart, but listen, you a little bit smarter than us. Okay, so you got to break that down for us. You going to do what?
So when I started in college, I wanted to be a neonatologist. That's what my sole purpose was. And a neonatologist is a doctor that works in the NICU, the neonatal
Okay.
intensive care unit. And when I was born, when my siblings were born, my younger siblings, we were all born premature.
Mm,
And I was born at 7 months. My little brother was born at 6 months, and then my younger sister was born at 8 months.
okay.
And we were the only three in the entire hospital in the entire town of Florence that survived. And they made a magazine article about us, and that basically inspired me because I started learning about what they did to help us because I was just very curious. And
Yeah.
I actually met the doctor that was in labor with my mom that helped my mom deliver my little brother. My little brother is now 17, and I interned with him 2 years ago. And
Wow.
he told me, he said, "I remember your story." And he pulled out a book, and it was my brother's name, and he wrote down what happened. And actually, my brother's situation gave him a raise because it was that intense.
Wow.
And he remembers us from till this day. And I just started learning about it. And then when I actually interned in the NICU, I didn't like the environment because it was too intense for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to branch off into something different. So
that's fair. That's fair.
It was very, very, very intense. I love the love that each child has in their situation, but just being in an environment like that for the rest of my life was just
stressful.
Yes, very stressful.
Like I saw the look on your face, like kind of like you felt bad a little bit for
Yes.
But it's okay for you to be able to say, you know what, this is not the right fit for me. Somebody else can, come in and decide that this is what they want. But for me and mine,
yeah,
I don't think I want to do this.
I definitely learned that I could volunteer, so I will do that. You can definitely volunteer in the NICU if anybody wants to. I'm not sure about COVID right now, but in the long run, you can definitely volunteer to care for the children while they're in there. My little brother was in there for 2 months, and we could go in there and volunteer and help the other little babies out. So that's something you could definitely look into if you want to.
I am very familiar with the NICU. My sister had triplets, and they had to stay in for about a month and a half during a snowstorm, girl. Like, it was a lot.
Yeah. And she had triplets?
She had triplets, and they were so small when they were first born. I think they were like this big.
Yes,
and
that's exactly how small they were.
You like the bottles are like this big when you're feeding them. I was like, whew, it was a lot, but it was a great experience. But I can definitely see how that can be overwhelming for someone.
Yes.
But you mentioned that, you understand yourself as a multifaceted person. Do you struggle at all with feeling like you have to choose one or the other?
Yes, because right now with my internship, that takes up most of my time. And then I also work in leasing sales. So I'm a leasing consultant as well. So most of those take up my time. And then my culinary business takes the weekends. So it's a little bit more difficult to run my social media and actually cook for any clients or to even just cook for myself. So that's the most difficult part, but me juggling all of that, that's the easy part because I'm getting more organized the older I get. So in college, I probably was not, I was not this organized. But as soon as I graduated, I just became very organized. I have a planner. I plan every month out ahead of time. So probably 2 months in advance, I know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to plan out the next month because I also try to work out in between. So
listen, trying to do this whole adult thing is a lot more than what they told us it was going to be.
Yes, my motto is adulting is ghetto.
It's ghetto. It's so ghetto. But you sound a lot more organized than me. I can't say that. I have not yet gotten to the point where I had months and stuff planned out. I don't think my brain works that way. It's a little bit all over the place, and I have to just go with the flow sometimes. But I was gonna ask about like the demand and how you handle being a traveling chef and on top of your school and your job. But you kind of answered that. But when do you make time for yourself?
I don't.
You're one of those.
I try to, for the most part, this past year, my goal for 2021 was just to figure everything out. I want to have a plan set out. So next year it's a little bit more lackadaisical. So most of the time I take about a week out of the month to really focus on myself. I've toned down on buying things or like caretaking. So I always get my nails done. I always used to get my nails done every week. And I was like, well, maybe I should just step back from that and then just try to use this time or use this money to actually build my clientele up and start buying things to help me in my production for my food videos and just my clothes that I wear when I actually go to events and things like that. So I just been using a little bit of sacrificing to help things out.
A little bit of sacrifice, delayed gratification. Does that ever get overwhelming for you?
Yes, because I also have my boyfriend plays in the CFL, so we've been trying to figure that out because I travel with him sometimes. So
Oh,
it's just
wow.
it's just a lot of going back and forth. So the overwhelming part is just me trying to make sure I have enough time for everything and everybody, because I'm a big family person, like I said before. And since I had all of my family members pass, I've been really trying to stay close to them. And probably trying to spend too much time with them is also probably hindering me sometimes, but I'm really close to them. So just trying to figure, I think my spending time with myself and trying to figure myself out is actually spending time with my family, if that makes sense.
It
So,
does. It
so
does.
I'm
It kind of
really,
gives you that break and that clarity. I know for
yes,
some of us, it's like, no, when I spend time with my family, I need to go and spend hours by myself to decompress. But, sometimes it does work the other way. And however your self care looks, I just usually ask that question because I know for creatives and business owners, it can be a challenge to kind of schedule that. We usually schedule ourselves last and try to put
yes,
everything else before. Wait, do you have on your shelf shirt? Let me
yes.
see. Oh, that is adorable.
Thank you.
That is so like it's so cool. Do you have the hat yet?
No, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to wear a
Look, I don't
hat.
think.
I would probably always have my hair done as well, so it'll be always
Right.
pulled up though.
What is your favorite event that you've covered so far?
So let's see. My favorite event was actually my first client that flew me out.
Ooh,
And I was flown out to Las Vegas,
okay.
and I think it was 4 days, and I planned out the entire menu with her, and it was I think it was a couples trip, but it was a mixture of a couples trip and just a friends trip,
Hmm.
and it was a lot of fun. So that was my first time going to Vegas as well. Um, and I did not have any bad reviews. Like, I usually never get any bad reviews,
Right.
but I'm one of those people that I really love constructive criticism. So if you don't like something, I really want you to tell me. But that
Right.
trip, I didn't have anything. And it was just a lot of fun because I was able to, that was my first time making my Hennessy cream grits for everybody.
Hmm.
And all of them just fell in love with it. So I was just very surprised at how successful I got, because I felt like that was just like a first step to
Right.
the next level. And she really told me that. And she was just like, I believe in you, and here you go. Here's the opportunity. And so I gained a lot of clients from her. So I would just give her a good shout out.
That's amazing. That was your turning point and kind of something that you needed so that you can know like, hey, this is a real thing that I can do and I'm good
Yes.
at. Okay. Listen, I feel like every creative needs that moment, that turning point when they know like, I'm actually kind of okay with this. I'm
Yes.
good at this.
That was me.
Listen, when you get down to it and you're juggling everything else, you're like, do I really need to be doing this? Like,
Yes, that is me all the way.
so going forward, you say that you're in pharmaceuticals. So how in 5 to 10 years, what does your life look like for you?
So actually, I want to move from South Carolina.
I get
Um, I
you.
definitely want to go to a bigger city. I have family that lives in Atlanta. I have friends that stay in Arizona, and I also have all of my family is usually, well, most of them are from up north in New York and New Jersey, and so I want to go to a bigger city that engages pharmaceuticals and food. So
Mhm.
I love food regardless, even if I don't cook. So I want to go somewhere that really engages food. So even if I'm not a personal chef, I can try to be a chef in a restaurant or something like that if I don't
Right.
even own my own restaurant. But my goal for the soul is to
My goal
Just
for I like that. My goal for the soul. Let's go. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
my goal for the soul is just to be. I want to be a successful personal chef. I want to be a celebrity chef as well. So once I get that first opportunity, that I get that first celebrity chef, just know the price is going up. So
I don't make it go up. Okay. Listen, you already got food out, and so it's coming. It is coming, and then you have different connections that of people that are, hopefully are going to be putting you on too. So I think all it takes is that one taste, and
yes.
that's it.
All of my friends, most of them play in the NFL right now, so all of
Mhm.
them have given me the kudos. So hopefully one day, I mean, they're already celebrities, but
Right.
um, I just want to be bigger than what I am right now. And then for pharmaceuticals, wherever that takes me, my goal is to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30.
I know
So
that's right.
with my food business and pharmaceuticals, I have no choice but to be a millionaire. So we'll see where that
No
takes
choice. You really
me.
don't. Like, um, do you ever think that you would give up pharmaceuticals if you became like a big renowned personal chef?
Yes.
That was quick.
Yes. I am one of those people that I don't want to work a 9 to 5.
I don't
Um,
either.
so with my food business, I can work 8 hours in one day and make the same as for the whole 2 weeks that I'm working. So
Right.
I'm really big on trying to branch out and be myself entrepreneur, like just be self-employed and just work from there. Because I also like to travel. I don't like staying home. So with this gives me an opportunity to do all of that and support everybody. So wherever I move, I feel like I can definitely build my clientele there, and then I'll just become global from there.
Right. I hope LBF, this little interview, wherever it may fall, I hope it helps, and I hope it gets people actually tapping into, your craft and booking you, because honestly, I'm gonna be booking you. I had, like I said, I've been on your page, and it was something you cooked. I think it was like a mashed potatoes and like maybe like a chicken, but you had like a glaze or something on it. And I was like, I want to eat my whole phone right now. Like, it was just the way that you presented it, like you said, like the plating and everything. I was just like, I have never seen, like, you'll see people, they'll cook or whatever and they'll put it online, but you can tell when someone takes pride in it and they're actually like really talented, not only on the possible taste side, because I don't know, it just looked good, but I'm pretty sure it tastes good too. Because if you have someone that's like taking that time to prepare it in that way, it has no choice but to be good, especially it just looked good. I
I
wish
think the
everybody
meal that you're
to
talking about, was it fried
I
mashed
think it
potatoes?
was. I think the chicken was
Okay.
fried. Mm-hmm.
So I think that meal I did smothered chicken, and then it was a
Yeah.
fried mashed potato cake.
Yes, that's what it was. And I was like, I don't think I was like, you see, it's so simple, right? It's just chicken and mashed potatoes, but the way you, like I said, the way you presented it, I was just like, I bet that tastes so good.
That was actually the last meal that me and my aunt, me and my family always go out to eat everywhere we go, like no matter what, we always go always together. And the last meal before my aunt passed this year, we went to this restaurant. I believe it's in Indian Land, and it's in South Carolina. I think Indian Land is in South Carolina or North Carolina. I'm not sure, but it's on the line of Charlotte. So
So it's
it's
probably like, yeah, it
it's
sounds like a North
called
Carolina.
yes, it's called the Big View, I think, and they had her side was a fried mashed potato cake, and both of us just fell in love with it. We split it together, and I was like, you know what, I want to try to make that. So I went home and made it, and it actually tastes just like it. I think it tastes better, but it tastes just
You could say it tastes better. It's okay. We'll all agree. Um, so like, what's the best thing? What's the best dish you've ever tasted?
um that's a good question. I'm
We can
very
come back.
picky.
But so
I
we can come back
am
if you.
very picky, so it's very hard to actually decide on that. I think the best meal that I've had, um, where did I eat? It was actually in. We went to. I cannot remember. I'll come back to it. I
Okay,
definitely come back
listen,
to it.
that's why I was like, sometimes I throw questions in there I know might be
I'm going
so
to
random.
remember because I can see what I ate. I just can't remember what it was.
Right. I think the best one I've had recently, or probably all together, no, it wasn't all together, but the best one I had recently, I went to Asheville and I got the simplest thing like you. I'm picky. And so I got like, steak, potatoes. And then for dessert, I had like a mousse. But it was so good. Like the glaze they put on it, the way they saute the vegetables and the potatoes and these little onions, they call them something, and I have no idea, but I had never seen them before. And then the mousse itself, it was just like it was the whole meal was just immaculate. And I was just like, you know what? I might be a little bit of a foodie when it's the right food.
I'm very much a foodie. I will travel anywhere to go eat. I
You'll
promise.
try anything?
Yes, and I would definitely travel. I have traveled from Greenville to Atlanta in one day. Just drive there and drive back just to try the restaurant that I saw on my Instagram.
Oh wow.
Yes.
That's a foodie.
Yes.
That's why that's your favorite food show, because you actually want to kind of do that one day, probably.
Yes, me and my friends, we all do this. And we're like, hey, you want to go get something to eat? And we'll just look it up. It can be in Charlotte. It can be 2 hours, 3 hours away. We'll definitely try it. We'll definitely go.
But you know what? That's a different kind of adventure, and it's good to have those in your life, and good to have people that are willing to do that with you too. So, hey,
Yes,
it's
we are
nothing
all
wrong with it.
foodies.
So it sounds like you got good support around you. So that's the next thing I want to ask is like, what was the reaction from your family and your friends when they knew that you were going to start taking this seriously as a business?
Um, so I want to say with my everybody pretty much doubts you when you first start out.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely don't think you're going to take anything serious when you first start out, of course. And as you grow, there's more supporters that come.
Mm-hmm.
Just like all the rappers talk about, when you get to that level, that's when everybody shows up.
Right.
So I will say my family has supported me. They are my worst critics and my best critics. They will tell me if something does not taste right, if they'll tell me if something tastes the best, or I need to change this or change that. I will say with me starting this, I was also in a time where I lost a lot of people. So I didn't have the support when I first started out, other than my family, other than my mother and my father and my siblings and my boyfriend. But as I grew and as more people started reaching out and as my family started putting my name out there, it became a big thing. As far as my friends goes, I really have a close knit circle. So I
Mm-hmm.
will only have like maybe 3 friends at the time.
Right.
And they were just like, just go for it. Cause everybody is more so into society norms. So even with my parents, they were just like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Just make sure you have a backup plan. And if this is
Right.
really, I think the soul was just something that started out small, and I kept this as my backup plan. Now it's turned into something that's more on the front line,
Right.
and pharmaceuticals is on
On the back
the
burner
backup.
now.
Yes. And so at first they were just like, I don't know about this. I don't know. And I'm just like, well, we'll see where it goes. I'm very optimistic too. So
Yeah.
if anybody doubts me, I have my own self. So I'll just uplift myself from there.
Right.
It does get hard sometimes because it's kind of lonely, but you figure your own stuff out. So as my grandmother said, you don't have friends, you only have family. And what she meant by that is your friends that you consider your family is
It's
just your
family.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I learned that as I grew up, and I will say my supporters right now, they are really uplifting me because I do get down sometimes. I'm just like, this is very hard. Who told me to adult so fast?
Why did y'all encourage me to do
Yes.
this? But I love that I love everything you said with that. Like, I had to realize that too. It's like I always say like, dang, I don't really have a whole bunch of friends. I have a whole bunch of acquaintances, but I have like very little friends. And then I'm like, I don't even consider my friends friends. Like,
Yeah.
they're my family. So but it is important to know, like, sometimes even the people that are closest to you, they'll have their best intentions, but they'll project some of that fear onto
Yes.
you about, like, okay, make sure you have a backup plan, or make sure you're still doing something else. And it's just like, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the support when you give it, but I'm still gonna
Yes.
do this, and
Yeah.
I'm still gonna, try it out, and I know that I'm capable. So even if you can't see, because not everybody's gonna see your dream, most people won't,
Right.
even the ones closest to you.
It's funny that I'm actually turning to my little sister, because my younger sister is the complete opposite. She has no care in the world. If you doubt her, she's like, I'm going to do it. I don't care. You can tell me I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I'm really turning into her. I give her kudos for that, because she does
Right.
not care what anybody has to say about what she wants to do, because she's in every industry you could think of. So I'm more of like, I have a little more direction. She's
Hmm.
so talented in other ways. So we're both actually on the same path, just in different directions right now.
Right.
So
So you feel like you started off as more of the responsible, rigid one, and she was the free
yes,
spirit, and now you guys are kind of, as you get older, I
yes,
think we all do that, is you realize, like, you don't have to choose. And I think that's something that I had to realize too, is like, I like this and I like this and I like this and I like this. And, people will tell you, like, oh, you need to choose one and just go with that for the rest of your life. And it's like, you
yes,
can't. I feel like I would be denying a part of myself. So if I'm interested in writing, if I'm interested in podcasting, and I'm interested in all this other stuff over here, then why wouldn't I just try all of it?
right. And so I learned. I literally sit around whenever I have downtime, or when I'm on my
When
lunch
is
break.
that?
Right. Whenever I have like a lunch break or something, I've been big on manifesting
Mhm.
and being spiritual, learning my purpose and my religion. And I've even sat down and watched videos from billionaires to people that are becoming millionaires, and just seeing what did they do. And some of them didn't even have high school
Diplomas, yeah.
yes, and some of them did go to college, and they felt like they wasted their time because they didn't even go in the direction that they went in. And then everybody has so many avenues that they dive deep into. They're not restricted to one thing. So I was like, why do I have to be restricted? So I'm
Right.
like, I can be a millionaire and still be in various industries. So
Yeah.
I've learned from them as well. So I just sit down and try to figure out, how can I be better? So
Right. Like, I don't have to choose between these different things, because I don't have to choose which parts of myself I want to express. I want to
yes,
express all of them. That don't mean I'm going to do every single thing, but it doesn't mean that I have to restrict myself to one thing either. So,
yes.
okay. How has your own personal journeys helped with, like, your business and your cooking? I know you mentioned losing people, but, like, are there any other experiences you can think about?
Um, so let's see. When I was younger, um, I was always around um, different people, and I played basketball. So when I was younger, up until I graduated high school, I played basketball all year round. Um, I went from public school to private school when I was in ninth grade. So from eighth grade to ninth grade, I went from public school to private school, and that was like a big culture shock,
Hmm.
as I would call it, just because I went from a predominantly black school to a predominantly white school. So
Right.
I had to learn both um, cultures. And I would say it was just very different for me. And so as I got older, I learned how to adapt to my surroundings. I learned how to be my own self in those surroundings and not
Right.
losing myself. And it was hard when I was growing up, because you don't know where you want to be or where you're trying to go.
Hmm.
And as I got older, I just tried to stay true to myself. And that was one thing my grandmother always just basically instilled in us. Always, my mom, my dad, they always tell us to stand up for what we believe in. They always tell us to stand up for ourselves. So I guess as I just got older, I learned how to control my business. So right now it's difficult with being in an industry where people feel like you're not worth what you're supposed to, basically what you're supposed to charge, or if you're charging too little or if you're charging too much. And so I just learned how to stay true to myself through all of that, because honestly, if you're not going to pay for it, that's okay with me. Somebody else will. So not to be condescending or anything like that. It's just, I know my worth. So once you know your worth, nobody can take that away from you. So I just became very confident in myself, because when I was growing up, I didn't have that much confidence as I do now. Mostly, if anybody tells me anything about me at all, whether it comes to my food, whether it comes to just me personally, my mind would just be like, okay.
I know me. I just shared a quote like a couple of days ago. It was like, know who you are in any space, in any situation, and with any audience. And I think that's so important, because that's basically what you're saying. It's like when you kind of know who you are, especially when it comes to running a business or doing something of that fashion, people will try to tell you what you're worth. And you're just like, no, I know my worth. I know who I am, and I know what I deserve. So either we're going to agree on that in this situation, or we don't have business to conduct, and that's fine. But
yes, I definitely had to learn that. I'm still learning that. I have family members that do that to me as well. I have people that don't know me and still say, like, sorry, my voice just cracked.
You're fine.
I still have people that are strangers that just tell me, you should charge more than what you're charging. Like, your food tastes a lot more advanced than people that charge more than you right now. So I just had to learn that balance. And one thing my godmother used to tell me, she still tells me this to this day, she always say, know who you are and then know whose you are. And I always used to be like, what? Like,
that's an old gospel saying.
Yes. And I'm like, what does that even mean? And as I get older, I'm like, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. And my dad is just like, people will either they'll be with you or they'll be without you. So you just have to learn to accept those things and move forward and advance your own self and advance your career from there.
Right. And that's great advice. And that's something that you kind of have to take and implement, whether you are, working a traditional job or you're running a business, whether you're in a relationship, like you have to take that everywhere.
Yes. This is like one of the biggest parts of my life that I've ever been in, because I honestly didn't know how I was going to act in front of a camera. I usually don't hold conversations very long. I love to talk, but it's only to people that I'm like really, really close with. And even just being in a environment where I have to go and talk to others, like for people that book me, and I have to go in their kitchen and start talking and holding conversations. It's kind of nerve-wracking, but once I get into it, I'm just like, oh, this is cool. Like,
right. And I love that. Like, I kind of picked up the fact that you could possibly strongly be an introvert, because I am one.
Yes.
And it is so interesting, because you think about how you're challenged through your own passion, and the way that your passion kind of leads you into becoming your best self. So having to learn those social skills a lot, and because you have to do it to build it up. So one of the things I'll ask is like, what are the ups and downs of building the business? You mentioned the social side. Are there any other ones?
I think the most up from it, like I will say the most like wow moment was the amount of money that I could make in this industry. I did not know that. And I didn't know people love food as much as I did. So it's very, like, I don't know, rewarding to feel that you make other people happy through your craft. So that's like one of the most rewarding things that I've been getting through this. The other up is basically, I don't know, I just like just being around other people and learning other people. And a lot of people, when you go cook for them, they don't mind telling you anything. Like, they're just like, you're in my house. Yeah. Like, you're a part of the situation. You're a part of the conversation.
Telling all their business.
Yes. So it's just like, it's very open and I like it. because I wasn't open when I was younger. I was more the more reserved child. My brother is very open. He talks to anybody, everybody. My younger sister, she is the opposite of me. Like I said, she's more outgoing. And so as I've gotten older, as I've gotten into this business, it's just like I have to go out and tell people, because who else is going to tell anything about me and about my business? And they're just like, well, what makes you different? Or
Oh, yeah.
why do you charge this, or why do you charge that? And so I think the downside of it is just proving yourself, because a lot of people doubt you in the work of you actually crafting and making your name known. And so I've had, most of the time, it's not really people that don't know me. It's more of the people that know me that doubted me, or that tried to even copy what I've been doing. And so
not the copycatters.
yes. And so I've just been like, it's actually, I take that as not even like a up and a down. I think it's actually both, because it's like, okay, I inspire you, and I inspire you enough to where you want to copy.
Yeah.
I take it as a check. So that was like a good aspect, and I had to learn that, because I used to be like, why are they copying me? Like, I just hate that so much. And so now I'm just like, well, I inspire you, so that's good to know.
Right.
You're watching me.
And like you said, having to go out and you have to market for yourself. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to protect yourself. Like, and you have to get into these spaces where, whether you want to or not, you have to be social. You have to build up that thick skin. I know for me, I'm a sensitive person. So it's just like having to go out in situations sometimes and having conversations that I otherwise would not want to have.
Yes.
But it all kind of, just like I said, it feeds back into you just becoming your best self through this passion of yours that you would have never thought was going to be as much work. Yes. Personal work, not even just business work, but personal work on yourself as it is. So
I think the only downside of this as well, when I go home, all of my family is like, what are you cooking? I'm just like, what? I just got here.
I want to rest. I want to just be around in your company.
Yes. I think for the 4th of July, I went with my family, and I will say they booked me for it, but they were just like, yeah, we're going to cook this, this, and this. And then I was just like, who's going to do all this? And they're just like, you. So I cooked everything. My older sister helped just a little, but
just a little.
Yes. Anytime I go home or anytime we have an event, it is me in the kitchen. So that's the only downside. I'm like, I never get a break. But honestly, I'm like, this is what I actually paid for. Like, this is what you asked for. So you're just going to have to deal with it.
This is it.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, like I said, we're both in the same area, and I know how the goods of this area and the bads. What has it been like for you with this very unique business, and you being a Black woman chef? How has it been gaining support for your business in this area?
So I don't really have a lot of support in this area. Most of the time, they are all out of state. Most of the time I travel to Atlanta, or people that book me are from South Carolina, but they take me on trips with them. Or it's more of the low country, because I'm from the low country. So most of the time they're from there. I've had people that actually wanted me to do pop-up shops here. I just don't know how to go around about that. So I don't want everybody coming to my house. So I'm just like, I have to figure that out.
I don't blame you.
So I've just been I've actually been researching that, because a lot of my friends and my family have been asking me, are you going to get a food truck? And
I was going to ask that too. Is that something you think you might want to do one day?
Yes, I honestly do pop-up shops, and I don't know why I haven't gotten a food truck yet. I'm big on artistic things, so I would have to design this whole thing out before I actually get it done. Because when I say I'm very artistic, like my current job, I do digital and branding and social media marketing for my job.
You know what? You do everything at this point. At this point, I feel like, You are truly a jack of all trades, and that is an amazing way to be. It really is.
I know. I didn't know I had all of this talent until it literally just comes out of the blue. And that's when I figured out for pharmaceuticals, I would want to go into branding and marketing. So it won't feel like a job to me. So
Right.
I'm big on trying to figure out what can I have as a job, but also makes me feel like it's a hobby. So
Exactly. That's the
with
best way
me,
to go about it.
yes, and so that's what I've been trying to do. And so with my culinary business, all I've been doing is when somebody asks me for a menu, I actually sit down and design the menu. So when they come to the event, they will know exactly what they're eating. I plan all of that out, and whatever theme they have, that's what the menu will look like. Whatever color scheme they have, that's what they'll look like. And that's the fun part for me. I'll just sit down and brainstorm and figure everything out from there. And then most of the time they're just like, yeah, I like that. I'm just like, well, what if I just put anything blank on
Anything.
here? Yeah.
You still would have liked it. Like you're appreciating the detail.
Right. And so I think just me trying to figure everything out is the fun part, honestly.
Right. I can understand that to some degree. I know we're in two different industries, but I think one of my favorite parts is thinking like, what questions am I going to ask and how am I going to present this? And then when it comes to the marketing side of it, it's like, okay, what's the best picture I can get of this person, and how I'm going to do the lighting and everything. So I understand like the choosing something that brings you joy, and then it's within that passion, some stuff isn't always fun. But then you have
Yes.
those moments where it's just like, oh, I really like doing this. Like I've gotten to a point where I'm like, I actually like editing, or I like, doing the marketing a lot more than I used to. So it's
Yeah, I
always
definitely had
like,
to learn that. I
yeah,
definitely had to learn that.
yeah. It's like as you get better, you start to find new ways to kind of make it fun for yourself.
Yes, and I promise you, like growing up, when you, I guess when you grow up, like I'm not sure if your family is the same way, but mine is just like, okay, make sure you're solid, you're financially stable, and you need to make sure you have a job that can provide those things. And they're like, you don't need to go in this field because it's not going to make you enough money. And
Mm.
for me, I was just like, I don't care. It'll make me some money. I would definitely try to figure my own way out. And if this doesn't, then I'll add another source of income to help me out. But I'm not going to
Right.
work a 9 to 5. Like,
So I'm just now getting to a point. I am in a huge transition right now because it was a little bit of that for me, but more so than anything, I am like the first gen of my family. So they knew they wanted me to have stability, but they didn't know how to kind of mentor and guide me. So in that, having instability as I was growing up financially and otherwise, I kind of got really rigid in my thinking. And so I was like, whatever's going to make me the most stability and the most money is what I'm going to
yeah.
do. And then I get into these jobs. I'm just like, I am not happy.
Yes. And
I
that's
am
exactly how I was.
right. I'm like, I am unfulfilled. I need to try something different. And I've always been a creative, but I didn't know that about myself until I started to kind of venture out and start to explore different things and explore myself a lot more. And so now I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to just curate a life that is going to be I can wake up and I enjoy what I do and it doesn't feel like I want to just bang my head against the wall.
Yes. I have been in that same predicament. And going through college and you're going through different avenues and different jobs.
Mhm.
I was working when I was a sophomore, and it was only because I did not want anything from my mom and dad. I just wanted my own
Yep.
money because I used to hate when they tell me no. So I used to want to just get my own stuff. So as I've grown up, I was just like, going through those things when I was younger, it has prepared me for the things I go through now. And
Yeah,
I just have to think about the things I go through now will prepare me for the things I go through in the future. So it's
exactly.
been a learning experience because I honestly think with me being, I can draw, I can paint, I can do all this digital stuff. And I've been so like in a whirlwind of just trying to figure out where do I fit in all this? Like
Right. What
what
I want
happens with all
most.
this? Yes, like how do I capitalize on all of these things
Yeah.
that I have in my life that God has talent like has gifted me with? So
Yeah.
I think that's been the toughest thing I've ever had to experience, but I'm still learning about it. So
But it's a good tough because I get that too. It's just like so much stuff. And at one point, I'm like, I have to choose something. I can't do all of this, but it all kind of flows together because if you're artistic, I'm sorry. If you're artistic, that is probably a direct, link between how you place your food, what kind
yes,
of menus you choose to make and how you choose to make them. And then when you do design that first restaurant or that first, food truck, it's gonna just bleed into, that as well. So it's once it starts flowing, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna just go where it leads me and I'm just gonna get out the way. Cause when you try to fight against it, sometimes it's just like, that's when it becomes like chaos and overwhelming. And
yes.
it can get confusing sometimes when you are a talented person and you sound like you way more talented than me. I'll tell you that now. So it's gonna be amazing to see your journey. I can definitely think I'm gonna click on the Food Network channel one day and you're gonna be up there.
Yes, I really feel like that would be something really cool because I'll be working from home, and that's my goal. I'll
I
have my
know
own
that's
show at home.
you know what, cut. All right, I'm done for the day.
Right.
So what kind of support do you feel like you currently need as a chef?
I think it's just getting my name out there because I really feel like my food will speak for itself. My presentation will speak for itself. I don't think um, anyone that anyone that actually sees my social media will be like, oh, has she cooked for like how long has she been cooking? She cooked for years, and I'm only 23, so
Mm-hmm.
they're just like, wow. And so I think just me getting my name out there is the biggest thing, and I think that's pretty much for every chef. Like once they get their name out there, it's hard for you to
Go
fail.
back.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the biggest thing is just me trying to get the support of people that's already around me.
Yeah.
Just to like and share, or just to repost or something. That's
It's always
literally
the
it.
bane of our existence as creatives. It's like, come on, like you could just come on.
Right. And I'm like, the moment I have the celebrity share it, it's it from there. So that's my goal actually, to get one celebrity to share from there, and that's it. Once I cook for that one celebrity, that's it
That's
for me.
it. That's
Yep.
it. Because either you're going to become their personal chef, and then the
Yes.
people who are invited in their circle are going to be tasted, and then it's going to be like wildfire. I think
Yes.
one of those things about your industry is food is one of those things that is both good, on the surface, but it's also very nostalgic too.
Yeah.
So people have like such a personal connection to it, and so it's one of it never goes out of style. Food
Well, never.
never
I
goes out of
know.
style. You will always have a job.
Right. And I'm like, even if this is like, if I was to get, like if Corona, like last year when it hit, a lot of people lost their jobs. There were a lot of people that just went straight to building their social media, and then
Mhm.
some of them started building their culinaries. Um, I have friends that started real estate. So a lot of things, you have side jobs now that actually
Yeah.
help you with that. So, and your side jobs turn into your actual job. And so I just feel like with the support, it's really just
A
figuring out
matter
your
of
lane.
time.
Yeah, and then once it goes from there, it will automatically just take off. So,
So, what other creative interests do you have? You told me about the talents, but are you interested in anything else creatively?
um, not really. Actually, I've definitely limited myself because of so many things I
Right.
have. But I have a lot of avenues that I would want to go into. So, but it's not necessarily creatives. It's more so just me learning about stocks, learning about investing, learning about real estate, and actually becoming all three of these things, and
Right.
just going to different avenues and seeing where all of it takes me and how I balance it all out.
So you about to be a pharmaceutical marketing person, okay? A stock person. What did you say? What was the last one?
Real estate.
Real estate. You do the social media and marketing, and a chef. I'm coming to
Yes.
your house because it's probably going to have like a whole lot of rooms.
Yes. That's what I'm. Give me 10 years. Not even 10 years. I said the next 5 years. That's where I'm going to be.
Listen, I love like not putting any limits on your dreams is one of those things that a lot of people in our community are they're starting to realize they don't have to do, but it's such a new phenomenon now for us. And
Yes.
to see it more and more, I'm always so overjoyed when people are like, you know what, I'm gonna go after all of it.
Yes, and that's why I've like with our generation, it's not the opposite, but it's swaying away from society norms, and that's what I really, really like because um, there's more people that have become entrepreneurs that have started their own business and through social media, and a lot of them have just started from the bottom basically and just build
Right.
their own selves up, and they're teaching other people. So that's the good part about, honestly, I think that's what the best thing was for COVID for our generation, because we have learned how to provide for ourselves without relying on society. So
Right.
that's what I really like. Like a lot of people have really engaged their own talents and dig deep to bring their own talents out and be successful from it. So
Right. I definitely can say on a personal level, not trying to take away what COVID is and was for a lot of
yeah.
people in a negative way, but on the other side of that has been that time to just grow and to implement the things that you had been, learning all this time and to self-reflect and to build and having that space to do it, not being obligated and chained to the
Yes.
desk and, your mind being distracted by 10 million things. It was like when the world stopped, that's when my mind really started,
Yes.
coming alive too. So I think that happened with a lot of people. And I can see it still like the evidence of people doing that work in that time is starting to really, really show.
Yes, because my family, they were my relatives, the older ones. My grandmother actually, she wanted to start her own food business. I did not know that until she actually passed away. And her best friend, which is my cousin, she told me, she was like, we always wanted a food truck. We always wanted to have our own business, because my grandmother was in catering, and I didn't know that either until she passed away. And
Wow.
um, we just never talked about it, because I guess when I was younger, she was off a lot and she did her own thing, and I really didn't pay attention. And as I got older, she just stayed in the house, so I didn't really know anything. We just talked about my life and what I should and should not do. We didn't really talk about her old school life. So
Right. That's one.
after
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
oh, you
ahead.
can go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's one of the things that I try to think about like in my own life too when it comes to older people. It's like when you get old enough to realize like I want to ask these questions or certain things I want to ask, and sometimes those adults aren't around anymore, and you really,
Yeah.
really like, I wish I had those conversations or thought to have those conversations because they have whole lives before us, and we don't even realize it when we're young.
Yes. And I just like, as I think last year before she passed away, I did a Mother's Day event for all the mothers that were in my life. So it was my aunt, my grandmother, my boyfriend's family. We are all really close.
Right.
And if you see us all together, you would think we were actually family on how close we are. And so when I did all of those things for the Mother's Day event, I didn't know that that was my last time actually being with her.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the event, and then I cooked for her separately because she couldn't actually come to the event. So
Right.
she gave me her kudos from there, and we just sat down. And when I always go home, I will always talk about or show her pictures about the things that I did and about the food that I would cook. And she started asking me for recipes that I was cooking. And so
You're
when
like
I
I
started,
made it.
yes. And so when I started really sitting down and talking to her, I just never thought to ask, like, what did you do before you became old? And like, what did you do? Like, what did you think?
It's the way you worded that.
Yeah.
But that's really what it is because it's like I've started asking my mom questions too. It's like my mom told me some things probably a couple of years ago. I was like, Mom, I would have never like. Why wouldn't you just offer this information? Like, I would never have known to ask you some of this stuff.
Yes, I'm really close with my mom, and me and her like best friends. When I tell you she knows every single thing, she knows everything. And so
Right.
as I've gotten out of college, actually when I got into college, it got to the point where I had the mindset of like, okay, well, I can't get in trouble for this. away from home. So I used to just talk to them. And as I've just, I guess, as I've grown as a person, I had to realize that my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, like they all had lives before me. So learning these stories after they passed away, I'm just like, wow.
Right.
Like,
And it kind of just makes sense. You're like, maybe on some level, I may have been influenced and didn't even know. Or maybe
yes,
it's one of those things where it's one of those unexplainable traits that we inherit that
yes.
science can't really prove, but it's one of those more of a spiritual inheritance, I guess.
That's what I've definitely been saying, because after my grandmother passed away, that's when it started taking off. I was like, wow, I guess her spirit just went inside me. And then
Right.
with my aunt passing away, she gave me her advice before she died, and I just didn't know that was the last time I would be able to talk to her. But it was very influential on what I do now. And with her passing away, she was also the designated cook before my grandmother passed away. And so with her passing away and actually giving me that advice, I'm just like, okay, now her spirit has definitely just went inside me as well. So
Right.
both of their talents are in both of my hands. So
And you're going to be embodying, I think that, for a lot of us trailblazers, which I consider you one, because you're probably going to be the manifestation of the things they wanted to do. Maybe they
yeah,
couldn't do, maybe they were too afraid to do, maybe they didn't have the tools or the knowledge or the resources to do it. And so now with you, you got all that you needed. You got the advice, you got the teachings, and when you get that first restaurant, that food truck, the fact that you already have your own business, it's already a manifestation of it. Like, I hope you know that.
yes, it really clicked. I want to say, because March 22nd was the anniversary, well, the year anniversary for me actually building this. And so when it hit the year mark, I was like, wow, like it's a year into all of this. And my great grandmother was very influential into well, she was a baker. And I just didn't know that all of these things that she was teaching me as I was young, that would be something I would take on when I got older. It's just
Right.
crazy how the world works and how life works. It's just like, wow, I'm getting older, and all the things that they taught me is very much so relevant
Right.
right now. So
Right. It's like, you know what? When they say like when you think you're not listening but you listen,
yes,
it's like it shows back up and you're like, "Oh, that's what you meant."
yeah.
So just switching gears a little bit, we're coming to a close out of this great conversation. But I want to talk about maybe the financial, the mental and emotional aspects of running a business and, doing what you do.
So I think the emotional and mental part of it, I I literally, I don't know how to explain it. I put myself in a bubble when I'm in the kitchen, if that makes sense. So if I'm in the kitchen, please don't bother me.
Right.
And
You're in your
once
zone.
and once I'm in there, it's just it literally takes over. Like I'm just another person when I'm in the kitchen. Like it's just everything that all of my creativity just goes straight into the food. And my mindset while I'm in there is not really overwhelming. And I think the biggest thing is time management while I'm in the kitchen, because I will sit in there and just have fun, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like the time is going by so fast and I have to rush. But now I've been big on my time management and learning how to juggle all those things. And just emotionally, when I get off of my job, I just feel like that is where I'm just like, oh, I can breathe now.
Right.
And mentally, I think it actually helps me with everything else that goes on into my life. So it's basically like a therapeutic thing for me.
I can see that, like, probably while you're working on things, you're probably working through stuff in your mind, and while
Yes.
your hands are busy, and you're probably kind of like on autopilot, but not really.
Yes.
It's like you're still paying attention to what you're doing, but you also have that, like you said, you have that bubble because nobody's gonna really come into the kitchen when you're in there, hopefully,
Yes. The only one
and
that comes
distract
in
you.
there is my dad. And I always fuss at him. I'm like, please get out. He's like, I'm the taste tester. I'm like, no, get out,
He said,
please.
"I gotta see what you're doing."
Yes. I'm like, you don't trust me? He's like, yeah, I trust you, but I'm just hungry. I'm like, okay.
That's
But
all it is.
yes. And I think financially, I think the biggest thing is me juggling, me starting out on a business. So it's always hard when you first start out on something because you have to find some way to actually um, to provide for yourself.
Yeah.
And with me being a leasing consultant and having this as my job right now while I'm in my grad school slash internship, I think that's the biggest thing. So I'm just like, you still have to work in order for you to pay your bills, and you still have to work in order to get the things that you want to.
You said
Because
like work.
yes.
I feel you. I definitely feel you.
But as I've grown in my business, it's just like I've learned that in person, being a personal chef, you literally are paid. You're paid for your service. You don't really pay for anything. They like everything that you are doing is for others. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just you're paying your time for all of it. And
Right.
so I really think any money, any amount of money that's on this industry or that's just on my business right now, it doesn't equate to how much happiness and how much time I get out of this, because it really is something that I enjoy.
Right. And I think that's the hallmark of any passion, whether you, like you mentioned before, when you become a different person and that talent that God gave you is just kind of flowing out of you.
Yeah.
And the fact that when you do it, you feel fulfilled and you feel satisfied and you're like, you know what? I might not this might not be something that's at the focal point of my life right now, but this is something that I don't think that I could live without doing.
Yeah, I definitely can. I don't think till the day I die, my family is going to ask me every single time, every holiday to cook. And even if I said I wasn't doing this anymore and somebody was to ask me, hey, can you do this event for me? My answer is still going to be yes, even though I say I'm not. I would definitely do it.
Look, when you get a family, if that's something that you want, I can imagine your kids are gonna have like the best school lunches.
Yes, they really are. I'm like I've seen this woman. She's on TikTok and she literally cuts her children's lunches into different
Oh
crafts and things like
yeah.
that. And I'm like, wow, that's going to be me. Like I really think that's going to be me. And I'm just like, even with me, I will find a different recipe or a different thing to try. Like I have things on my list right now that I don't think anybody else has thought of. And if they did think of it, it's not going to be as good as mine. But
Ooh.
but it they just haven't put it out there. And so if anything, I would just be the one that put it out there first, and they can follow or they can lead, whichever one works for them. But for me, I'm just very creative. So I've been putting menus together and putting recipes together. Well, not really recipes, just meals together that I want to try and
Right.
just take it to the next level. And I just think with me doing that, my kids are definitely going to be happy no matter what. So
But man, what your mom cooking you today? Like, oh, she just cooked me some glazed chicken and something fancy. They be like, all I got is a PB and J sandwich.
right. Let me come over to your house.
Listen, all the kids gonna be.
I really want that. I told my boyfriend we talk about building a family, and we're just like we don't know when. There's nothing on our radar at all right now, but we just sit down and have talks like that. And I'm just like, I really want to be the house where all of our children's friends just come over and they're just like, hey, we want to do this, or are you cooking today? I'm just like, yeah, I really want that. I can see that now, because my mom and my dad, they were those parents. Like everybody used to come over to our house. My parents always had parties. We were always very
Entertainment
yes,
household.
yes. Everywhere we went, people always like, oh my gosh, there goes my sister's name Asia, and we have the same exact initials. They'll be like, oh, there goes Autumn and Asia, and her mom and dad. They'll literally call my mom and dad mom and dad. So it was always like that. And so I just feel like that's they instilled that into me, and so that's what will happen when I have children too. So I just look forward to that because I feel like that'll be fun.
That's amazing. But I mean, to have that experience, like you said, like either way, that talent is going to be used. Whether you
Yeah.
decide to keep this going or you transition into another part of your life, it's probably just going to spill out regardless of whether you want it to or not.
Yes, I just accepted that, honestly.
Right.
I'm too creative right now for it to just be on a hold. So just me trying to figure this out is really going to be a journey, but I think it'll be a success regardless of if I don't think it'll be successful in the way that I view it, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So if I don't make this into a millionaire business, $1 million business, sorry, it will at least bring me six figures in because it's not going to not
Right.
going to stop from there.
You're
So
like, I'll accept 6.
yeah, it doesn't
You
have to be
know,
seven.
don't have to be 7 just yet. It will be. Um, what is some advice you would give to others who are thinking about getting into the food industry?
Um, I think my biggest piece of advice is actually perfecting your craft, learning your recipes, and just being original, because that comes with clientele regardless.
Right.
As far as just building a business, I will say you will have to be very, very disciplined. I have learned to be more disciplined than I ever have in my life. And I've learned to stand up for myself. And most of the time, don't be afraid of the answer no, because the worst answer you can get is no, and then you just move on to the next thing. My mom and dad definitely have instilled that in me. If you don't ask, you won't have an answer because the
Right.
answer might be yes, so you have a 50-50 chance. And the best thing that I've ever learned is your time management, because a
Mm.
lot of people really, really go against you being slow. So that is like a big thing, because if you're waiting on food, they won't be rude about it. Some people will be rude, but they will be very distant and reserved about making you their first choice the next time. So
Right.
making a first impression is definitely a big thing. So that would be my advice.
I love that. I know this is another question, and we're gonna wrap it
Oh,
up. But
you're fine.
how do you handle like those rough experience with customers? Like, let's say something might happen in the kitchen, and it was something that you didn't account for. You dropped a pot of sauce or something, and now you got to make it all over again. Now the food's delayed, and
I haven't really had an incident like that right
okay.
now.
I hope you don't have one. No jinxing over here.
I've definitely, let me knock on wood.
Right.
I've definitely had mishaps, but my mother is always in the kitchen with me. So if I have anything, like if I forget something or if something goes wrong, she is there to actually help me. So
So she travels with you on your engagements. That's awesome
yes,
for you to have that support.
yes, she is. She's like, what do I need to do? And she's just very ongoing with me. Like she's always there. So even if I'm crying, she's like, suck it up and let's go. Like
What's
just talk
that
about.
show? You guys got to go on the that show. What's the show? It's not Chopped. Is it Chopped?
Is it the one where their family comes with them?
Yeah, it's like what is it? It's the one where like they're paired up in couples and like they do get the ingredients, but it's not Chopped because I know Chop is for like the actual chefs, but it's for like everyday people.
I know exactly what you're. Excuse
I,
me, what you're talking about because I just watched it. I just can't remember the name.
I like that one. It gives me anxiety too. But a lot of times, like people will come with like their spouse or their partners
Yes,
or their, a family member, and like you'll see them like with the pressure. But the ones that work really, really good together, they'll like get through the hard moments. So I can imagine having that support so close to you, even if you might not be anxious, but just having that option to lean on her. Is
I'm definitely
awesome.
always nervous before going to an event, but it's just like once I get there, I'm just like, oh, just relax. It's something you always do. But
Right.
I think with a mishap happening, I think I've had one minor one, but they didn't need the food, so it was definitely. I was just like I put myself down for it, but they were just
Yeah.
like, don't worry about it, like we had more than enough food, so you actually didn't need it. I think the most part about the learning experience with my time management is I start 4 hours early. I used to do 3, but I have to start at least 4 hours early because that just gives me enough time to prepare. I also prep. I also prep before the night before, just in case, so I don't run into any time management restrictions or anything like that.
Right.
And I think another piece of advice is actually prepping, because that takes the most time.
Right.
Really the most time. I used to always wonder why my grandmother would cook the night before. I'm just like, why are you doing that? Like, you just cook tomorrow.
Oh, my mom does that a lot, especially on like big holidays.
Yes. And I used to always ask myself, why do they do that? Like, that's not the same. And then as I got older, I'm just like, oh, okay, I see why. Because that takes all day, literally all day. And so I think that would be my big piece of advice: time management and prepping. So
great advice. Chef Autumn, you have been amazing. And I thank you. One last thing. What is the life quote that you live by?
Your vision is your path to your destiny. That's actually a quote that I made up. I don't know where it came from. It just literally, I have a lot of tattoos, and one of my tattoos actually say dream without fear and love without limits. And the one that I've been living by right now is your vision is your path to your destiny.
So damn it, you're a poet too. You know what? I'm done with you today.
I don't know where that came from. I guess that was just from God, because it just came out of nowhere. And I was like, I definitely like that. So that's my next tattoo, is your vision is your path to your destiny, because that's actually what I've been living by. I'm big on manifesting and visualizing everything. And once you visualize it, it's definitely going to become reality. So.
Right. I love that, because right now in this point in my life, in this transition, this is how I'm going about it. I've been making the safe choice all my life, and so now I'm transitioning into taking more risk and actually going out, and not just postponing the things that I want, but going full force towards them.
Yes.
And so having that vision and having had it for so long and putting it off, and then realizing, like, you know what, I'm really not fulfilled. It probably is my destiny on the other side of that vision. I need to go after it. So the quote is so true, and it's something great to live by. So I thank you, because that was a little advice for me. I might get a tattoo too now. We're gonna be having matching tattoos.
Yes, go ahead. I love it.
Go ahead and plug all your information and let them know where they can find you and book your services.
So I actually have a website. My website is called tasteofthesoul.com. There are some that is .org, but mine is Taste of the Soul. So there's some that's Taste of Soul or something that's a little bit different. Make sure you put THE.
Right.
So you'll definitely go to the right one. My picture is very much there, so you'll see. My Instagram is The Soul of AC, and then my TikTok is, I believe it's, let me check before I tell you guys the wrong thing.
And I just got on TikTok too, so I definitely have to follow.
Yes, I need followers. I'm trying to go viral. Yeah, it's Autumn Sierra, so it's AUTUMNCIERA. Okay. And then that's also my personal Instagram name. So if you want to follow me on my regular Instagram and stuff there too, and this just has 2 A's at the end with the underscore in my regular one. But it's also tagged in my my food page as well. So if you guys have any questions, or if you want to book with me, just feel free to email me. My email is actually on the page as well. And you can also DM me. I am not one of those that do not answer DMs. I would definitely answer.
And if y'all are out there, y'all have to answer her DMs, and she's asking y'all questions, like, you wrong.
Definitely, I will say, give me maybe 72 hours to answer. If you do book, give me 72 hours to respond. As you can see and as you can hear, I'm definitely busy, very busy. So just give me a couple of days and then I'll respond to you.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom and your stories with us, and letting us be a part of this journey while it's still young, because she become a big shelf.
I would definitely remember you. This is my first podcast. This is my first interview. So it was definitely
Aw.
exciting. I thank you so much for the opportunity as well.
Thank you. And I will definitely be shooting you and your contacts to other podcasts too, to try
Okay.
to help along in the process of getting you out there, because it just blows my mind sometimes how talented people can be, and then nobody pays attention, and I'm just like, come
Yes.
on, like. So
I've
I,
been big on stuff like that. I've been
yeah.
looking. I'm sorry to cut you off,
No, go
but
ahead.
I was just. I've been looking at different music industries, and the rappers, the artists that are in those industries. They have the same issue,
Yeah.
and you don't have, once you get that exposure, it really takes off from there. And each rapper that's big right now would tell you the same thing. Once you get that exposure, it's it from there. So
Right.
I will also say, for those that are behind me or in the same predicament, don't give up. And even if you don't think anybody isn't paying attention to you, you have to be your only supporter if nobody else supports you. So
Yeah.
I would just keep posting, because honestly, I did not know that you're watching me, and it makes me feel so good that I have people and I inspire people. So
Right.
it's amazing to see how much you inspire others and you don't know. So
Honestly, and I tell people all the time, I will be one of your biggest supporters, because on, like you said, and I got in contact with you through somebody else watching you. You know what I'm saying? And
that's
they threw me your
amazing.
contact, so it's like you're out there, and it's kind of like a slow moving process sometimes. So if we can do anything to help and kind of speed that up, we're going to do that. But definitely don't quit, because, like she said, somebody's watching, and it might be that right person, that's going to make your, it's going to change your whole trajectory and kind of just speed past all this, you know.
Yes. And I promise, like, for those that are religious, if you pray, just continue to pray, because honestly, that's literally all I do. I will pray day
Yes.
and night, and I've become more spiritual. If you're spiritual, I would just tune yourself with your spirit guides, your
Yeah.
ancestors, whatever you want to call it. I would just say, just really dig deep into yourself, and don't give up.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Oh, amazing advice. So, as we come to a close, you guys know me. I'm your host, Kantoinette, and you can follow me on Instagram at Kantoinette_the blogger. You can also follow the Let's Build Futures page at Let's_build_futures, and visit Let's Build Futures.com for blog posts and podcast episodes. Remember that on YouTube, I do have episodes up there that you can see the visual and hear the audio. So you'll get all the great experiences of my many faces. And you can see the beautiful faces of my guests. You'll be able to see Chef Autumn very soon. I'll have her up on the YouTube page, and that's LBF Podcast, which you type it into the search bar. Um, Remember, I mean, I know it's been a while, y'all, but I told you last time that, I've been trying to get things organized on this end. So if you have any questions for me or any topic ideas, you can always hit me up at allthingslbf@gmail.com. And until next time, thank you and happy eating. Bye. Oh, no.